Imagine this with me for a second now, okay? You read an article and it says that the slower that you perform a rep, the more tension, the more time that you're under tension, the better gains that you're going to get. Imagine if that was true. You see, this is what I read when I was a 16-year-old beefcake wannabe. And I read on a few articles that, you know, time and attention was what drove muscle growth. And the more time that you were under that bar, the more stress that you were putting on your muscle through the eccentric phase, that's the way down, that the better results you'll get and the bigger your muscles would grow. But then I sort of grew up. And I grew a brain, and I started to think about things logically, and I started reading and following the right people. Now, what some people will have you or make you believe is that, you know, the 5 second eccentric is what gets you the gains, but let's think about this logically, okay? In that bench press video when I'm bringing the bar down for 5 seconds, I am going to be fatiguing far quicker whilst bringing the bar down for 5 seconds compared to the 2 second eccentric. Now, if I'm only going to be able to do 5 or 6 reps with that 5 second eccentric, so I had 50k on the bar, whatever 50 times 6 is, 300 kilograms, that is how much I've lifted with that. Now, if we compare that to the 2 second eccentric, so the second bench press video that we saw, and let's say I had 10 reps up with that because I was only taking a 2 second concentric, I'd have lifted 500 kilograms. Now, a lot of studies have shown that volume is what drives muscle growth. So let's put 2 and 2 together. 300 kilograms, 500 kilograms, which one is more, and which one is going to get you better gains, or bigger gains? Number 2. But before some of you start getting off your heads, right, there is a place for time and attention, and I use it a lot with clients, and that's for them to sort of practice the movement and know which muscle group they should be using. For example, the split squat. What I get clients to do is to focus on the negative part of it when it's their first sort of 2 to 3 times performing the lift, so that they know where they need to be driving from. And that's probably the only real use that I use time and attention. Of course, it is definitely 110% important not to be bouncing the weight everywhere, but that's just controlled. That's not sort of time and attention. Of course, your muscles are always under tension when you're pressing, when you're squatting, when you're doing anything. But this whole, when you see guys doing like lifting the bar up and go, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 seconds eccentric. Waste of fucking time. Waste of pointless. And this is something that I've been saying for quite a long time, and Mike Isratelli actually said it in one of his Facebook posts a few days back, and I fucking loved it. And that was the fact that people will sort of say that, oh, that if you keep the muscle under more tension for longer, that you tax the muscle more. No, you're just fatiguing it. It's like, if you want to tax the muscle more, do more sets with more reps, which is going to enable you to put more mechanical stress on your muscle, which is going to enable more volume, which leads to more muscle growth. And this other thing is sort of the feeling the burn. Now, feeling the burn by doing the rep slower, again, is just, you're going to be accumulating fatigue far quicker, and being more fatigued, you are going to be not able to perform as much reps as you were if you were taking sort of a normal paced tempo. So yes, you're feeling the burn more, but in the long run, you're doing less reps, which means less volume, which means less mechanical stress, which means less gains. But back to what I said earlier, one thing that I really do agree with is that you can feel the muscle more when you are working it, and as a beginner, I think that's really, really important, because the amount of times that I've trained clients, and for example, they're doing hip thrusters, and I'm like, okay, so where did you feel that? And they say things like, oh, my upper back, where they're drilling onto the pad, whatever they're resting on. And then you try and explain sort of, okay, we're going to take a little pause at the top for you to squeeze your glutes, we're going to lower it nice and slow, and then they start feeling the sort of mind to muscle connection in their hamstrings a lot more. And that is one aspect that I do like with regards to time under tension, but anything else is sort of flawed. No, it's like Mike said, it's a load of bullshit. Sort of a study that was concluded on time under tension. There's not enough evidence backing the claim where, you know, time under tension is more beneficial taking sort of these 4 second, 5 second negatives is more beneficial than using a 2 second eccentric phase, because again, what really matters is the amount of volume that you are lifting come the end of the day, and that is what drives muscle growth, is volume. And far better adaptations were made. Normal paced tempo was used compared to the slow eccentric tempo with a lighter load, because once again, volume is what drives muscle growth.